Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Splitting Hairs podcast, part of Jackrabbit Illustrated. We are the B team. Big thanks to our title sponsor, Drake's Place. More than a convenience store, they've got food, they've got burgers, they got pizzas. They have an all special Jackrabbit themed menu coming out. Specials Monday through Friday. Be sure to get in there, get you some of that delicious eats, man. Looking at that stuff, I got a second mat. I wish I lived in Bodle, at least just to go to Drake's Place. I don't know about the rest of Bodle. I've never been there, but no. Besides that, we're excited to be on FCS Fans, a part of the FCS Fans network of podcasts. So if you want to catch us on there, we're live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on their YouTube. What I tend to do nowadays is instead of watching on Facebook, I've got a smart TV. Most people have smart TVs. Go ahead, throw it up on the YouTube on your smart TV and watch it that way. It's like we're Sports Center or something, except we're better because we talk about Jackrabbit stuff and don't argue quite as much, and we don't have Stephen A. Smith. So,
anyways, speaking of that, you can either on Jackrabbit Illustrated YouTube or FCS Fans Nation YouTube, you can I think they say subscribe or like or hit the bell. I don't know, whatever it is. You can do that, and then they'll let you know when we're going live. So you'll get a notification. You'll be like, oh, they're going live. I'll hop on. So do that.
So then we don't have the confusion of when, say, a certain person posts on Twitter that we're going live tonight, but then they forget, the time, because time and when is very important. And, some people forget that. I think if you've watched us long enough, you know that we jump on at the crack of eventually. So time is irrelevant anyways. It depends what, movie you're watching, right?
Right. And I would like to apologize for anyone that was on last week. I'd like to apologize because I tried to host from Duluth, Minnesota on sketchy internet Wi-Fi. It was a train wreck. We had dead air for a minute and a half. So thank you to everyone who stuck around. Thank you for coming back and trusting us that when we're at home, we're on our B game at least.
Right. Well, and I was on my computer too, and my computer I got 3 years ago for $200 used. So, it'll operate Oregon Trail with a couple starts and stutters. So that's not helping. I have the wife let me hijack her computer for this. So now I've got 3 screens and she's in tech. So it's all fancy and I'm going to get lost and confused. But yes, thank you everybody for coming back to us after we had our difficulties. But how you been? It was a good weekend, right?
I've been great. Yeah, it was an awesome weekend of Jacks football. Another note is for who's on, stay on, and we are having the Dixie State play-by-play guy. He's on ESPN Radio at Dixie State. Devin Dixon is his name.
Yes.
And we were waiting for him to join. Once he joins, we'll have him on. You can ask him questions live if you want. We'll get the lowdown on Dixie State through him. But until he gets here, we're going to recap the Indiana State game a bit. Yeah. It couldn't have gone much better. As far as opening Valley play, and especially coming off a bye, you never know, or improvement week. You never know how it's going to go. And we just looked really solid, and I think as we should, as good of a team that we are, you kind of expect that from a team like we have. In years past, we'd go on Valley road games. You'd kind of struggle for a while. And I think we did, in the first, it was a shorter struggle though. It was a kind of a bye week, rusty struggle. And then once we got our feet under us, late first quarter, it was okay, this is over.
Yeah. For coming out like we did, it's really weird. You win 44-0 and, Matt and Kyle and Dallas went over this really well. It wasn't the sharpest performance, which is actually kind of scary when you think about it, because I posted it on Twitter a bunch. To me, when you see that they went on the road to Northwestern, now they're not a great Big Ten team because there's not a great Big Ten team this year anywhere, but they only gave up 26 points to them in the entire game. And we have a game where it didn't quite feel like everything was clicking on all cylinders necessarily offensively wise, and then you still put up 44 points. I mean, that's got to be spooky for FCS fans, that if you're paying attention, because Indiana State isn't the Indiana State of old. Now, do I think they're going to win the conference? No, I don't think they're going to challenge for the playoffs either. But it's not like it was Valpo out there that we did that to. They got some players.
Yeah, no, and I think it's easy to like kind of poo-poo that victory and be like, oh, it's just Indiana State, but it's like, you know, it's only, you only think that way. That's a very revisionist way of looking at it. Like looking back, like, oh, we should, you know, we would have known we would have beat him by that much. It's like going into it, we had no idea. We were only 18-point favorites, which it's a lot, but it's not 40-point favorites. Like it's not, you know, it's not like we were facing D2 Lindenwood. And so it's, you can't take it for granted either. You know, clearly we can play better, but at the same time, it's an indication of how good we are that we didn't play our perfect game and we still beat him by that much. So yeah, like I said, don't want to downplay it at all, but at the same time, there's room for improvement.
Right. You know, and historically speaking, just us coming out of a bye, normally that's a spooky scenario that historically going back a couple, 4 or 5 years, that was always kind of hold your breath and panic. And we don't tend to do the best out of there. So came out fairly sharp from that, which was exciting. The interesting thing I'm noticing is when a team has a good defensive front, and I think this is the Chris Oladokin factor to an extent. And they're focused really hard. Like it was in the Colorado State game a little bit in the beginning of the game and this Indiana State game a little bit in the game where there wasn't a lot of room. But the Hogs wear these defensive lines down, the 605 Hogs. They wear them down so fast. Like normally you wear down a defensive line like in the second half and it feels like third drive that Chris has made those defenses back off because he's hitting some long plays over their heads, so they got to give a little bit of space. But B, they're just starting to rip wide open rushing lanes, and it's really fun. It's a lot of fun to watch that happen live, but it's really exciting going forward, especially knowing the defenses we're going to be facing. I mean, you're going to need that.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the game, you're well aware that these guys have over 250 starts combined, or they said games played. I don't know if that's starts.
257 cumulative games across the offensive line.
Yeah, which is insane, and we're so lucky to have that. And yeah, they're dominant. I mean, and that's how you win games in the Valley. You dominate with your offensive line. It's what we've needed forever, and that's why we had success last year, and that's why we're going to have success this year. So yeah, I mean, I'd look for that to continue because those guys are really, really, really good.
Right. The offense and the O-line was fun to watch. Chris wasn't necessarily 100% all the way on his game, I'd say. On some of he missed some passes that I'm sure he'd say he probably normally hits on the button. That was just kind of odd. You know, I think earlier we had a little bit of dreams of him maybe making a run at the Walter Payton, but when Eric Berrier's out there putting up more yards than entire teams' offenses, I think we can probably let that one go away, whether we want it to, whether we want, you know, that.
I mean, when you're giving up 60 points to Western Illinois, yeah, you're gonna have a few. You're gonna have a few possessions.
You have to. You have to, but the guy's got 1,698 yards or some silly thing, so I don't think necessarily that's going to happen. But the point I was getting at, what I really enjoyed watching that game, that was the most fun, was the violence the defense played with. They came with their lunch pails and their chin straps strapped tight, and it's a violence you don't see very often, you know, when in these games and from a lot of defenses. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, they were flying around. Like it was fun to watch. I mean, they're playing with an attitude right now, and I think I forget who it was after that first game was talking about how like we're the best team in the country, we should play like it, we should act like it.
Yep.
I mean, they they've got that swagger right now, man, and I love it. Like it's
right.
They know they're good and they're playing like it, and they're playing confident and fast, and it's scary and it's fun to watch.
And we got a comment here from James E. Lark Jr. Will the starters make it past the third quarter? I hope not. I mean, honestly, because this tailors into the negative a little bit of what's happened the last 4 games. We've had a major piece go down with an injury. And that's where, I mean, if you follow us on Twitter, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys do, if you're watching or listening, if you don't, you should, because I say stuff that'll make you dumb. It's we're begging for him to take the starters out before right once you're up 4 scores, 5 scores, probably 5 scores in the first half. We're usually going get them out for a couple reasons. Number one, we don't want these big injuries to happen in garbage time. And I'm not saying any of them have, but the second thing is this time that these guys are getting the second strings and third stringers against Valley play is so important. They're going to have experience when someone does go down.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen, we were tweeting about it or retweeting about it today that Don Gardner, starting cornerback, broke his forearm in this game. And that's, it's the 4th consecutive game going back to last year. We've had a major injury to a starter, which doesn't happen. Like it's football. Guys get injured,
right?
But to have major contributors like that get injured that frequently, like I tweeted out, it's like, it's not sustainable. This has to stop. And
right.
I mean, it's got to be like a bad luck thing. Like it'll stop. Like it's not going to continue. Right. You hope it won't anyway. And, I don't think there's any correlation to the spring season or anything.
Right.
I think it's a freak thing that it's the nature of football. Sometimes injuries happen and sometimes they happen to your best players, and just something you have to deal with. And I think Matt, who runs our Jack Rabbit Illustrated account, the godfather of Jack Rabbit Illustrated, he tweeted out a very good thread about our debt. Wait, do you like the Godfather?
Oh, we're calling him the Godfather forever now.
Oh, that's awesome. We need to get him a shirt. How good would that be? Like the Godfather. Oh, that's good too.
Yeah,
because he started all these podcasts, and with the
marionette deals,
the Podfather with the Jack Rabbit Illustrated. Oh my god!
Oh, that'd be awesome.
We're making this shirt.
That's gonna happen. Print the shirts. The shirts.
So
now we're off track.
Look forward to that, Matt. But anyways, go look at his tweets. He tweeted a very good thread about how deep we are, how good our recruiting has been, and how we're built to kind of survive and persevere through these injuries, which we didn't used to be. We weren't deep before. Like he said, we've been talking about how deep we are. Let's show it. So a guy's got to step up, and next man up mentality. It's just next guy, let's go.
Well, and that's the difference between a national title team and like a quarterfinal team, right? Your national title teams will absorb these injuries because they have the depth better than the rest. I mean, football to a point in a season like this is a game of attrition, and you have a lot of people already jumping on like you had mentioned, the spring season caused it. I would buy that. I think you're forcing that narrative a little bit if you're going that way right now, because these were broken bones. And it's I don't remember who it was. The Rabbit Hole on Twitter is his handle. I don't remember or know who runs that account, but he said the spring season didn't cause osteoporosis. Wear and tears doesn't cause osteoporosis. So if it starts being like torn muscles and ligaments and things that wear, then all right, fine. But broken bones, that's a whole different story. But yeah, if you're a national title contending team, you got to be able to absorb these. It really sucks that they're to key players, Isaiah, Don, Wolf, that's really tough. Going back to the Natty, it's still impacting us as Mark, but you still gotta roll with the punches and play with the guys who got you there and just roll with it. I can get some more cliches in there, I think, but I'm not real sure.
So Caleb Buseman, who I believe is a current student at SDSU, he posed this question on FCS Fans Nation. He says, what are the odds College game day comes back to Brookings for the Dakota Marker game? Looks like there would be no games between two top 25 teams. I mean, it's a possibility. It's things will have to go right, just like they did the last time we hosted game day.
Right.
But it's not out of the realm of possibility, and the cool thing is that it's even like on their radar, that we
Right.
be like considered. Like we never before last time we're like, it's never going to happen.
Right. Yep.
And I think we talked about, I think LSU needs to lose a game or two, and then maybe I think it's Auburn and Texas A&M maybe was the other matchup that that is potential, that if one of those slip up, then there's a good possibility. So I mean, they went to Fargo 2 years in a row in 13 and 14, and they came here in 19. It's not out of the realm of possibility they come back here in 21.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's impossible. Personally, my feelings, I'm always, when it comes to something like this that's out of my control, I'm always kind of pessimistic. And then if it comes to fruition, then I'll be, jacked up about it. But they already did an FCS game this year with their first show at the HBCU's game that they had on ESPN. So that's already kind of going against us a little bit. And I don't know with an FCS game if they'd go with a rematch of one they've already been at. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that plays into it or not, but the fact they were just at the Marker game a year ago, sort of a year ago, right? 2 seasons ago. I don't know if that helps at all. I hope so. I hope it doesn't matter. Obviously we'd love to have them back. That would be phenomenal. We'd roll out the welcome wagon for them. I'm just not going to hold my breath on it. I mean, I haven't even looked at what the other FCS matchups are that week. I mean, if the Grizz have a big game, they might go there. Or if there's a big Ivy League school game because of the history of football, they might go there. I'd like to think that'd be the Marker game. I'd like to think it'd be the Marker game, and they'd put the Marker game on ESPN or on or on ABC and really showcase it, because that's not like when they went to NDSU, and I'll give them props. They went to NDSU for NDSU because it wasn't who they were playing. They played a couple slack off teams, if I remember right. But Caleb says Montana plays Montana State too. So the Brawl of the Wild, that's a tough one to go against when they've already been here. Good fast fingers on you there, Caleb. But so we'll see how it goes. I'd love for it to come back and they were to actually broadcast the game. And I think for that to happen, we would really want that Eastern Washington Montana game to do well on ESPN2 this week.
Yeah, that's a big one that we will be picking later. It's a huge, huge matchup, and that's on ESPN2, so it's a nice showcase for the FCS.
Big showdown.
Right. So we did get sidetracked from the Indiana State game. Let's put a bow on that. Improvements I think we can make is first down stick awareness.
Yes.
And I feel like I was watching a replay of the game because I was in a wedding on Saturday and I was only able to watch a little bit, but I was looking at the replay and their first down sticks were way off the field. Like not even close to the sideline. And they didn't have a like little marker thing where the first down was.
They didn't.
So I feel like that could have played into it a little bit, where it was kind of off, too far off in the peripheral where they couldn't really tell where it was. Mm-hmm. And so, there were a couple plays, I think Oladokin on one and then Kraft on another, that they could have had a first down, but they kind of decided to cut another way to try to get more yards. But maybe they already thought they had the first down because they couldn't see where the marker was. I don't know if that was a thing, but
right. Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's tough just to see those missed when they really looked, at least like on TV. Obviously, we're not on the field. We don't know for sure. But from on TV and what we were watching, those looked like they should have been first downs. And we just kind of took a wrong angle. And like you said, we just kind of lost where the markers were. And in the end, whether the sticks are close like we're used to or not, that's something, in the playoffs, there's a possibility you get a 3-4 seed and then you're on the road and you're playing in a different environment. That's something that'll be really important in games like that, especially if we're going on the road. You're going to a real high seed, so those plays are going to be hyper important.
Yeah. And it could have been the camera angle too, because it was like a super wide angle, and like,
oh my God,
the way we saw it may not have been actually how it was, just because I saw a couple of the replays on the Jax account, the Go Jax account, and I was like, well, that play looks way different than it did in the broadcast, just because of the angle they had. So it wasn't the best broadcast, but
no. The camera guy needed some coffee, and he probably should add some Cottonwood Bistro coffee. You like how I did that there? I'm pretty proud of that. Yeah. Cottonwood Bistro is one of our major sponsors as well. Stop in Brookings. You can order their coffee online. They have K-Cups, which is sweet. So I know a lot of people love their Keurigs out there. So get you some Cottonwood Bistro K-Cups. I'm sure it's better than any of the Starbucks crap you get from Walmart. So make sure to support them. They're supporting us. They got some great food in Brookings if you're looking to stop on game day. So swing on in there for an early breakfast before tailgating, or swing on by after the game if it's a early game, and maybe grab yourself some dinner.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're going to get good coffee, don't feed the corporate monster that Starbucks is. Go to a local place, Cottonwood. They are local. They're awesome. They got great food too. So Brad is asking if it's National Coffee Day.
Could be.
I think it is. I think I did see that.
I did see a tweet about that. Good call. I've been too busy swimming in the misery of the Brewers reliever breaking his hand against the wall because he got drunk celebrating.
What an idiot. I cannot believe that.
Thank God for Jack's football, because I would be one sad dude all the time if it wasn't for Jack's football. It'd be bad. You're like, why are you such a big fan? Well, it's that, or I do cheer for the Brewers, so that's kind of a sad scenario. It's like cheering for the Lions in football sometimes.
Right. I do have to give one shout out to one of our other sponsors, the bookstore. I got these sweet shades from them. They're SDSU Jags.
Those are badass.
Those are sick. And then they had this special where you get a $1 1 cent musical bottle opener.
Yes.
Here it is.
You got it. Show us it in action.
I got it. So I don't have a bottle open, but
yeah. I dig it.
So yeah,
that is phenomenal.
There's that. It's a lot of fun.
They got the cool stuff at Jackrabbit Central.
I agree.
Check it out.
Speaking of them, I don't know if you're going the same place I am. Great minds think alike. Probably not. I stopped in there today, and I was looking for some black SDSU gear because we're having a blackout this week at the Dixie State game. So if you can, wear black to the game. They're doing a blackout deal. And there was some fun stuff for the students. If the students wear black, they get something. And if they
wear black and bring sunglasses is what they told the students.
Yeah, that too.
So
these sunglasses.
That'd be the way to go. Get the Jackrabbit Central sunglasses. No, seriously, everybody wear black to the game. If everybody does it, it's going to be really cool. I mean, the Dana at night, everybody in black is going to be a phenomenal setting. Tell all your friends that you're dragging to the game, because I know everybody's doing that, right? You're going and getting 2 or 3 friends and making them come to the game. So, so that's what we got going on for that. Make sure you wear black. Here, bring some black for a friend, whatever.
Yeah, and I will say that black Jack's gear is tough to come by. So if you can, go to the bookstore, find some black Jack's gear. Not everybody has black Jack's gear, which is okay. Mm-hmm. You can wear a black anything, It doesn't have to be Jack's gear. A blackout is a blackout. Like, it's cool when everybody gets in on it. So wear something black, and then wear like a Jack's hat or something like that to tie it off. So
because if everybody's wearing black, if everybody's doing it, it's going to be phenomenal. If like a quarter of the people are doing it, it's going to be like, that's weird. There's a lot of people wearing black.
What are they doing? They don't even have Jack stuff. Yeah.
That'd be funny. Brad says, speaking of the bookstore, my sister's sewing on my Jackrabbits patch on the back of my blue vest. He's coming around, boys. We're getting him from Mankato here. We're gonna turn him into a Jackrabbit fan yet. But where do we go from here?
Well, Brad says some team in Western Minnesota, Dawson Boyd, are the Black Jacks. That's they probably have some Black Jack gear.
Yeah. I
like that.
I dig it.
All right. Well, from here we wrapped up the Indiana State game. Let's talk about top 25. We're still hopefully waiting for the Dixie State guy.
Yep.
We'll see if he hops on. If he doesn't, that's fine. We'll we'll preview the game anyway. We'll recap our picks here. Unless you want me to recap picks first.
Yeah, let's recap. Let's recap picks and then go.
Let's recap the games from last week. So the two non-Missouri Valley games we picked were Sam Houston at Central Arkansas, which was a pretty big matchup. Sam Houston ended up not covering. They won 45-35, but the spread was 11.5. It was kind of an interesting, it's hard to tell how much you take.
Sort of came back.
Yeah, hard to tell how much you take from that final score. Just trying to get a gauge of if Sam Houston's as good as we think they are again, or if, are they? I don't know. Did they? Because the way they got to the championship, like they had to, win late in a couple games, and so are they that top team, or did they just have some good circumstances to get them to the championship last year?
Right. I didn't get to watch the game because we've been busy moving and everything like that. So 1 week, baby, here we go. So looking forward to that. But from what I heard about that game is that game was not as close as the score. So Sam Houston State was ahead by quite a bit, and UCA made it interesting late. So, what do you do?
So you can only take so much from a final score. The other big game was UC Davis at Weber State, and UC Davis ended up winning that one 17-14, which could be a huge deal for seeding implications. From what I've seen, UC Davis does not have a tough schedule left. Or not super tough. I mean, they've got, I think, one is it Eastern Washington, I think they have to face maybe.
Eastern Washington will be a real tough one.
If they get past Eastern Washington, they'll be in line for a top 4 seed for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they got an FBS win against a solid FBS team because Tulane is who they beat, and they're not a joke, Tulane. I mean, they won the American Conference in 2019. So they look really good. They look really good for a seed. I think this definitely knocks Weber State out of the running for a seed. But it still leaves the Big Sky with realistically 3, maybe 4 teams in the running to get a top 8 seed so far with Montana. Montana State's kind of looking like a fringe, 8 maybe if they win games that they probably shouldn't. And then Eastern Washington. So there's going to be a lot of competition for that number 1 seed. Number 1 and number 2 seed. There really is, unless some of these Big Sky teams do a round robin and knocking each other off. There's gonna be some heated debate over the 1 and 2 seeds because James Madison. I mean, the CAA doesn't look real good, and the Big Sky, top of the Big Sky, looks real good. And with their wacky scheduling, they're not all going to play each other or even get close to playing everybody. So you could end up with 2 undefeated teams out of the Big Sky that are both going to have a legit. I mean, if Montana and UC Davis come out with FBS wins and wins over Eastern Washington and undefeated, that's a hell of a resume.
Yeah, it'll be tough to keep them out of a top 2 seed. Yeah, I mean, it could be crowded at the top. We'll see, but there's a long way to go before we get there. The other Missouri Valley games, Southern Illinois took care of business, 35-17, covered the spread. Western Illinois won like we thought they would. Chad and I were talking about that game. We figured that Western Illinois had a chance of winning that game. They did, 38-35. Missouri State took down USD. That was a good game way up until the end. They won 31-23, covered the spread. And then lastly, obviously, SDSU took down Indiana State 44-0, covered that spread by quite a bit. That was only 13.5 when it opened. It ended up being closer to 20 at close, but still covered that by a lot.
Couple miles. Ryan Frankel asks, who's your non-MVC dark horse team to win it all this year? For the Natty, dark horse, I mean...
Depends how you define dark horse.
Yeah, define dark horse. I mean, if you're talking about, not one of your top 5 right now, right? I think the easy answer for me would be UC Davis. I mean, they're the ones who've been they look solid, man. They're no joke. If they were to get some home cooking going and really get rolling at the end of the year, I could see UC Davis doing it. I don't think necessarily from what I've seen any of the CAA teams. And then once you get outside of that, I don't see any of the non-Big 3 teams really stepping out like that and looking like a national title contender. So I guess right now I'd go with probably UC Davis personally, because otherwise you got Eastern Washington and Montana, who I think maybe before the season they would have counted as dark horses, but I wouldn't count them as dark horses right now because we know they're really good.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, I mean, if it's the top 5, like Eastern Washington and UC Davis are outside that.
Yep.
So I think you could consider both of those dark horse non-MVC teams that have a chance to win the Natty. Yeah, Brendan pulled up the top 25. It's pretty zoomed out, but as far as the any given Saturday poll goes, SDSU is at the top. We bested Sam Houston by 4 votes. That kind of seems it's weird how close it is between us and Sam Houston at this point. But they still have more first place votes than us. And then that top 5 that we talked about is rounded out by James Madison, Montana, and then NDSU.
Yep. So I guess Eastern's not top 5.
Right.
I guess I would say Eastern, but they've probably got the toughest schedule of those Big Sky teams. They have to play Montana and UC Davis. But
yeah, but if they can survive their schedule, I think that with Barry, I think they've got the firepower to do it. It's just can their defense stop anybody? And, if they run into a team that gives them some fits on offense, are they going to be able to slow down anybody enough to keep up with them? That's always the question.
Well, and what's really interesting about that, I was listening to the FCS Fans Nation pod today, and Eastern Washington has really good stats for third down on defense. Like they're like top 5 or something silly like that, which you don't expect from a team that gives up 40 plus points to Western Illinois. So I'm guessing they just give up a ton of big plays for that to happen. Or, I suppose you can be a bad defense and be good at third downs if you don't ever get to third down. But it's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting stat. It'll be interesting once they get into Big Sky play to see how they fare against the other Big Sky teams. But I don't mind throwing a little shade at Eastern Washington just because Kyler is always throwing.
he's always giving us crap.
Yeah, not shade, but like he's always like
he's always down on the Jacks.
Yeah, very down on the Jacks. So we can be down on Eastern Washington just to even it out.
Gonna give him a hard time just for funsies, right? But second week in a row, we're asking Kyler Neal to explain why he doesn't like the South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
Right. We're gonna keep asking until he answers.
Right. Someday we will know. But let's go through the Missouri Valley teams in the AGS Top 25. Obviously, we're number 1. NDSU is sitting at number 5. Then we've got Southern Illinois at number 6. North Dakota at number 9. Northern Iowa at 12. Missouri State at 14. And then that, I believe, rounds it out for so far. I'm surprised that because Missouri State wasn't quite that high last week, if I remember correctly, were they?
They were like 18-ish, I think.
It's amazing what a win at home over USD can do for a guy, I tell you.
Well, I think USD slid in like number 25 or 24 at the end of last week. Yeah, because they're just outside now. So
they're in the others.
It was technically a top 25 win, so you get a bump for that. But
right. And do we want to talk about them? Do we want to talk about how they've looked so far, or are we just gonna
USD
that team?
Are they worthy
that
of
team?
I don't know if they're worthy of our time.
Oh yeah,
we only have so much time to. I mean, maybe when it's game week we can talk about them, but
yeah,
outside of that, I mean, they're a bottom half MVFC team, so.
Right. You know, I mean, it is what it is. And let's be honest, I don't expect their fan to tune in until the week we play them. So
right. They'll never know.
They'll never know unless one of you guys tells them.
Anyway.
Well, we're going to get in trouble someday for that.
Probably.
It'll
come back to haunt us. So now that we've gone through the top 25, do we want to pick games for this week?
Oh, I suppose so. Why not? Let's give her a whirlski.
Let's get into it. All right. So the only out-of-conference game that we're going to pick is the only one that is kind of a big deal, and it is a huge deal, actually, is Montana at Eastern Washington. It's on ESPN2. I don't know the game time. Is it Saturday night?
It is Saturday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, so it'll be starting at 9:30 on ESPN2 Central Time. So we all should be able to watch it if you want to, because unless you're, downtown partying like a rock star after the Dixie State game.
Yeah, so tune into that. It'll be cool, a cool showcase for FCS. So Montana goes to Eastern Washington, their god-awful field, and that's the worst part about this whole thing is that
you want my hot take on this?
What?
I like it.
Oh God!
I love colored fields. I do. I like them.
I don't.
I know that makes me a bad person. I'm a bad football fan for that. I like UCA's colored turf. I don't like Eastern Michigan's.
Do you wish the Dana came out with a blue turf when it was built?
No, I wasn't quite that far. I like the striped effect. So if we could do blue yellow, everyone, I might be.
I don't like it. Like what is it? I think UCA. Yeah, Chad says not the red. Exactly. It's awful.
No.
I think UCA did that. I think what is it? Idaho's doing like black and orange stripes. It looks. I don't know if that was a joke or not.
That was a troll post, I think.
Was it?
I think it was. I think it was.
I thought it was a troll at first, and then they're like, "Oh, maybe this is happening." I think
it was Chris Hammond who put that out. Another FCS Fans Nation guy. He put that out on Twitter, and everybody was like, "No." But honestly, for me, I think it's great. Do it. It'll be like Halloween every day. My wife would want to go watch games there all the time.
What is wrong with you? Anyway,
I like it.
It's a terrible.
I got dropped a lot as a kid.
So Montana goes to Eastern Washington, So Montana has been considered like this top 5 team. Eastern Washington right outside that top 5. They've got this killer offense, a suspect defense. Montana is supposed to be a very good team. What would you think? Brad says it was a troll because Idaho is black and gold and Iowa State is orange and black. Maybe it was it Idaho State? I don't know.
It was posted by Chris Hammond, who's an Idaho fan.
All right. You win. It was a troll then. I fell for it. But anyway, What do you think the spread is here? Because I know you don't know it.
For Montana and Eastern Washington, what's the spread? It's going to favor Montana, I think, if you're saying it that way, because Eastern Washington would not be a team that's favored by a pile. And they want to get people to bet, put some money on Eastern Washington too. So I'm going to say Montana is favored by 12 points.
That's too high. 6.5.
Haha. Which is kind of surprising because Montana, I believe, if I remember right, has never won at Eastern Washington on the red field.
Fun fact.
Fun fact, really.
Hopefully it's true because you just put it out on the interwebs.
Yep. The internet will tell me.
All right. So Montana by 6.5. I'll go first. I think Montana wins by more than a touchdown. I think they have a solid defense that shuts down Eastern Washington, and Eastern Washington just gives up a bunch of points and can't keep up.
I am going to go Oppo on you on this one, and I'm going to take Eastern Washington. It feels like I make these picks opposite of you all the time, and that's why I'm losing to you in picks right now, is because they always go awry. Like when I took Weber against JMU and all these stupid picks. So I'm like, nah, they're at home. They're going to come through for me. I guess I'm believing in the Barrier Magic to put up some points and keep it within a tutty. I don't.
We'll see.
6 points. I don't like that. I think Montana wins.
This pick segment is already more interesting than last week because after you got bumped off, Chad had to make your picks for you, and he did a good job. He went 4-2, which is I think better than you've ever done.
Vast improvement over my picks, like huge.
So I'm
going to have him write the picks down for me next week.
No, Chad, do not pick for him. So he went 4-2. But we tied because we picked exactly the same. It was, but I don't blame him because, I mean, I made good picks and Chad just agreed with me. So, no. So we'll go opposite on this one. The next one is Missouri Valley game. We got Missouri State going to Illinois State. This is the last one I'm going to make you guess on.
The last one you're going to make me guess on?
Yeah, Missouri State going to Illinois State.
I'm going to say Missouri State's favored by 3.
6.5.
6.5. No.
Yeah, which I was surprised. They must be impressed by Missouri State. And, I mean, it was a good win last week. But, again, I think they won by 7 or 8. It was a lot closer than that. USD had a chance to win that game. However, Illinois State is not playing well. I'll take Missouri State at Illinois State by 6.5.
I don't think Illinois. See, we're gonna go against each other here, and my dad says I'll do it. He's gonna make the picks for me. That'll go great. Thanks. Yeah, I'll have you do the. Who is this team? Mm-hmm. Anyways, now I'm selecting all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm going to go with Illinois State. I don't think the Missouri State show on the road is enough for them to win by 6. In fact, I don't know if they're going to win at all, especially after a close win like they just had against USD. There's going to be this will be the second week that Illinois State's had a game with a lot of emotion concerning what happened in the spring. Because if people remember in the spring season, Missouri State canceled the game against Illinois State to start the season because there was snow and ice, and that's scary when you're in Missouri. And then that was when the infamous Brock Spack video comes out of him walking to the center of the field with the stash and going, any place, anywhere, anytime. And then, like 2 weeks later, he promptly said, anywhere, any place, anytime, except for right now, because I don't like this. Anytime's not so good. And he canceled the season. So if you saw Southern Illinois' Twitter feed after the game, and they beat the brakes off of him, they said anywhere, any place, anytime. It was pretty damn funny.
Yeah, that was good.
All that being said, I'm going to take Illinois State to just hang in there with Missouri State, close enough since Missouri State is on the road. I like where Missouri State's going and everything like that, but all of their big wins have been at home so far. They got Central Arkansas at home to win. They had a tight one with USD to win at home as well. So I'm going to take Illinois State. And so now we are 2 for 2 going against each other.
I like it. The next one, we got a familiar foe. We just played. Indiana State goes to USD. And USD is favored by 14.5 at home, which is more than we were favored by going. I mean, granted, we were away,
We were
but
on the road.
Apparently they were not impressed by how they played against us.
Right.
However, I think this is a big bounce back game for Indiana State. I think they were completely overmatched by us. I'm going to take Indiana State. I think they only lose if they lose by a touchdown.
So I was going to go the same way as you until I saw some very interesting stats on Twitter today. I believe it was from like John Thayer or some USD guy. When do you think the last time that Indiana State has scored a touchdown in Vermilion, South Dakota?
Well, let me stop you right there. It's irrelevant to this game, but I mean that's like saying
that's what you say.
That's like saying roulette. Oh, it's been red 10 times. It's got to be black. No, it doesn't.
Well, that's anyway, not what we. Go on. I mean, it was the second quarter of the game in 2013.
That's a long time.
That's a really long time. That feels more relevant when it's that long.
Have they played every other year there though?
I mean, they've had years where they skipped, I'm sure, but I mean, even if it's 2 games, that's I feel ridiculous.
Like it's a padded stat, but yeah, but there were some bad Indiana State teams then. I feel like this one's better. I don't know.
Right, and in those games, I think USD outscored them like 115-28 or something like that. I don't know if. See, this is interesting because either USD is going to be pissed off about how the way their game went. It is D days down there, so as we all know, it's dumb days. So they're going to be fired up. 2 touchdowns, 2 touch. I want to put some voodoo curse magic on them, so I'm going to pick the University of South Dakota.
That will
because
work.
I can't use the other words I say for them because Matt would be angry.
The Podfather.
The Podfather will be upset. You cannot upset the Podfather.
So then the next Missouri Valley game we've got is Southern Illinois goes to Western Illinois. Battle of the inter-Illinois schools. The spread is Southern Illinois by 15.5.
That's it?
Yeah. I assume you're taking Southern Illinois then.
I'll take Southern Illinois.
Yeah?
You still got your guy?
I mean, you saw how Western Illinois scored points against Eastern Washington.
I don't care.
Nah, didn't affect your decision here?
No.
And
best decisions are quick, impulsive decisions.
They just beat Youngstown State.
Oh, well, in that case, they're better than Incarnate Word.
Right. No, I agree with you. I think Southern Illinois is on a mission. I think they're a very, very good team. We are on a collision course with them a week from Saturday. We won't get ahead of ourselves, but that is something to look forward to. I'll take Southern Illinois as well. We've got Youngstown State going to UNI. UNI is favored at home by 16.
UNI is favored by 16 at home?
Yes, at home. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take UNI. Even with that much, I'm going to take them.
I have to agree with you. I just feel like Youngstown State's not playing very well right now. No. And I think UNI's got something going.
I agree. UNI's got a lot cooking.
Yeah. I agree with Dustin Helton. Bring the beard back, Brendan. Yes.
Dustin, by the way, friend of mine, he's also on the FCS Fans Network podcast. He does one for the WAC. So they're getting wacky down there. He has, you know what? Every other thing I say involving WAC from this point on is probably going to get me benched for a couple of weeks by Matt.
Right.
So,
what is it? Is it Let's Get Wacky. Is that the podcast?
Yeah, he said Let's Get Wacky. I don't know if that's the name of the podcast for sure. I don't remember.
I think I saw it show up on there, and it was something about wacky.
But if you want to know about that wacky whack that's restarting up, go get whacked. And I'm gonna let it go there.
Let's stop the innuendos now before you
get out of whack pigskin.
It is Let's Get Wacky. So yeah, go check out Dustin's podcast about whack football. See, he's trying to get us in trouble.
He's trying to get me in trouble here, Dustin, and I don't appreciate that. I'm not so sure if Matt's checking in on us right now or not. My phone might start buzzing. Any further talking about action. So, anyway, that's enough of that time.
It is. All right. So the next Missouri Valley game we've got is a big one, actually. NDSU at UND. I lied. I am going to make you guess the spread.
How am I ever going to trust again? I'm going to guess that NDSU is favored by 10.5.
Stop it.
Did I get it?
That's exactly it.
Woo!
That's a good call.
Yes. I'll take NDSU.
NDSU by 10.5?
Yes. What's the last game you saw them play UND where it looked like UND belonged on the field with them?
I know. That's just
because here's my thing, right? As Jacks fans, I think we're all well aware by now that when you have the rival moniker with NDSU, you don't get the games like Indiana State or USD or Missouri State or even Illinois State gets where they're not up for that game. That is not how that goes. You get the full-on knockdown, drag-out fight, fist fight version of the angry homeless cows. And yeah, they're homeless, but there's a lot of beef behind that wagon there. So you got to be ready to take it. And UND has not shown themselves to be to have figured that out yet. And I mean, there was a couple games we had that happen way back, but now I don't think UND is to the point yet where they can't sit there and slug it out when they get the A game thrown at them.
Yeah, speaking of A game, somebody from our team commented, Matt doesn't listen to you guys, just keep going. That must not be Matt.
I feel like that's us, maybe.
Anyway, I think that UND, I have faith in their coaching enough that they will look at enough film of NDSU and make them throw the ball. And I think that they will sell it on the run, and I think they'll at least stay within 10 points.
They haven't been able to make them throw the ball in the last 3 times. The last 3 years, they haven't been able to make them throw the ball.
I know.
And granted, that's in the Fargo Dome versus in the Laris, so it's different, but is it 20 points different?
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to have faith in the Fighting Hawks. Yeah.
United States Postal Service in green.
Right. Which brings us to the most important game of the week, our game against Dixie State. And it looks like the Dixie State play-by-play guy cannot join us, which, sorry about that. If you're waiting for that, I don't know what to tell you. At least you had some entertainment along the way. We are favored by 45 at home against Dixie State.
Oh,
it's a lot.
That is a real big spread.
Yeah.
That's a spread where, that's depending what the coaching staff wants to do.
It is. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it's tough to bet that, especially when we know what we know about Stig.
I mean, Weber State, though, played Dixie a couple weeks ago on the 11th, and Weber State has not much for being dynamic on offense, and they beat them 41-3. is the potential there? I don't know. And should we take a minute and talk about the schedule that they set up for themselves?
Let's do that. They do play in the WAC. Matt asked, "What did I miss?" Nothing, Matt.
I won't worry about it. Yeah.
Definitely don't go back and listen to this.
This isn't a good pod that you're gonna get anything from, Podfather. I would just
don't worry about it.
I would go and just skim by this one and fill your evening with something else.
Yeah. Oh, he said fired.
Oh no!
Damn it!
This is all Dustin's fault.
Speaking of Dustin, he's got a prediction. We'll hold off on. We'll put up his prediction in a second here. So he knows a lot about Dixie State because they do play in the WAC.
Yep.
And he's got his Let's Get Wacky podcast. But yeah, Dixie State, for some reason, decided to schedule like the toughest FCS schedule there's ever been.
Like out of conference.
Yeah.
You think the football coach pissed off the AD? Is that what happened?
I don't know what happened. Are you going to pull it up?
Slept with the AD's daughter or something like that. and now now he's like, well, this is what's going to happen here. See, here we go. All right. I got their do schedule right here.
It says tough schedule. They might be Fort Lewis. I don't know who Fort Lewis is.
Yeah. I don't think anybody knows who Fort Lewis is, to be honest with you. I'm assuming it's a D2 team.
Brad, your references are too obscure.
No, that's who they're playing though. It is on their schedule. So they started with Sacramento State, which at the time was they were ranked at the time. And then they played Weber State, who obviously is still ranked. They were very highly ranked at the time. Then they played UC Davis, who is highly ranked now. Then they play us. And then they're like, let's have a break and play Montana. So they go to Montana. And then they play Tarleton State, who I really am going to watch that game because I want them to put 100 up on them. Matt says the Podfather says they beat Tarleton in the spring, which, yeah, that is true. They did. Then they play a resurgent Stephen F. Austin team that has taken teams like Dixie State to the woodshed this year. I don't know if they're a top 10 team quite yet, but I guess that's their break from non-transitional or D2 teams. Then they go to Delaware, who is highly ranked. And then they're like, let's make it easier. And they play Sam Houston, who is, I think, if I were to predict the final top 4 teams in the country, they're playing 3 of them, possibly 4 with UC Davis. Like they could have the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 teams if they had like NDSU on there or something on their schedule right here. And then they play Fort Lewis, who's a D2 team, I believe. There it is. It's a D2 team that Mankato beat in women basketball years ago. And then they play Dixie State. Like Dixie State is then they play Missouri State.
Right.
Like that's their 4th easiest game, and that's a team ranked like number 14 right now. I mean, it's one thing to challenge yourself, but that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a rough schedule. They, as Dustin says, he predicts that we will be up by 45 by halftime, and the Dixie State is a transitioning team. They just don't have the talent yet. They do have an amazing schedule, though, as we just talked about. And it is true. They're a new team to the FCS. They're still kind of building up that talent, and they do have, I will say, a nice thing about them. They have nice facilities, I saw.
They do. Yep. They do have very nice facilities. And honestly, like the schedule, I don't have a problem with it per se. We play in the Valley. So if we were to get 2 ranked teams in or out of conference, it's a very similar level of schedule. But the difference is you don't have transition teams coming into the Valley and trying to play that schedule. There's a reason we had to play in the Great West and then earn our way into the Valley.
Right.
You're transitioning right now. It's all I get challenging your squad and things like that. But boy, I mean, it's not great. I mean, by the end of that season, those guys, you almost worry about morale problems by the time they're through that thing.
Right. No, I agree. That's a rough way to start. They transitioned in 2020. So I think last year was their first year, wasn't it? In FCS?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm in
So,
Tarleton at the same time.
Yep. Very, very new to the FCS. As far as the game goes, I mean, I obviously, I hate even saying it at this point, but let's stay healthy.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, it's been
please.
such a problem up to this
God.
point. Let's hope that we can do that. Because that's really all. I mean, obviously, outside of that, getting reps again for our starters, and then getting our backups in and getting them good reps is also important.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, get the win, stay healthy. Let's get ready for Southern Illinois, basically.
Yeah, looking at this, my two big things are I hope we come out sharp to start the game. To me, that's a big indicator of a championship team when you don't, and I've been really, really excited with how we've done that with every game so far. Lindenwood, that could have been a come out and we're just going to roll our helmet on the field type of game. Indiana State could have been the same way. So hopefully, I mean, so far we've definitely been seeing championship effort and focus out of the team. And so love that. Like you said, hopefully we come out of this healthy. One quick thing for me on our schedule, I've seen people commenting about, hey, we need to schedule a high-end Big Sky team or something like that as a home and home. I understand from a fan standpoint of why you want. I'd be excited about those games too, but right now what we're following is the formula. When we've talked about this before, right? There's the formula for winning a national title. We play in the Missouri Valley. I don't know if anybody remembered. We went through the top 25 like 5 seconds ago, and almost a quarter of it, if not more, is Missouri Valley football teams. And there's like 5 of them in the top 10 or top 15. We don't need to schedule more difficult opponents in the out of conference. That's just we have injury problems now, right? And that's bit teams before. It's bit NDSU before, playing too many really tough opponents over and over and over. And especially a year after we had the spring season like this, it's kind of a good thing to have some games where you don't have to run your starters for the whole game. I think you'll see the good home and homes when we can't get a FBS team on the schedule, and that's when you do your home and home with a tough team. So that way, all right, we can have an away game. Because the other thing is too, they want to maximize the amount of home games. One, because if you're a season ticket holder and you go from 7 home games to 5, they're not dropping the ticket price, and you're going to be pissed. Plus, it's just we got a big stadium to pay for here, folks. you need the home game revenue. Yeah, we pay these guys to come, but we're definitely bringing in more in ticket sales, especially for the Dairy Bowl and the Beef Bowl, than we are going to be making money if we travel to Eastern Washington. I mean, will it draw more fans? Sure. We might get to 18, 19,000, but is that going to make up the difference of 2 games that we draw 16, 17 or 15 even? Likely not. So that's why in my opinion, the schedule is what it is. I don't have a huge problem with it because I personally understand where it comes from.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just the way it has to be, the nature of the beast. Like you said, the formula for having a high seed and making it deep into the playoffs. As far as a prediction for this game, I do think that we'll be up by quite a bit at halftime. I see our guys maybe playing a series to start the third quarter, just to kind of keep that rhythm of going to halftime, coming out, playing. Yep. I don't see him playing much past the early third quarter, which would be a good thing. The spread is so tough. 45
that's
again.
So big.
It's that's a lot.
So big.
Especially, and it's big knowing Stig, right? Like knowing that
right.
he doesn't want to Pine Bluff a team. having said that, it'll be interesting. So one thing to note is that Dixie State against UC Davis, I assume super late, scored 27 points against UC Davis. Yeah. So they, and actually now that I look at the box score, they didn't. UC Davis scored 21 points in the fourth to win 60-27. Dixie State scored 0 in the fourth. So there's
they hung with Sacramento State the whole game. I actually watched the end of that game.
Right.
I don't think I'm gonna. I want nothing to do with the 45 points. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't either. It's rare that we pick against SDSU against the spread, but I think I'm going to. I think I'll take Dixie State plus 45.
I can't. I'm gonna take the points with Dixie State because 45 is ludicrous, and all the factors we talked about with Stig not wanting to. He's not gonna want to kill a transitioning team. I'm sure there's some connections there with the coaching staffs and things like that. So I don't think he's going to want to do that. I'll take the points.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a cupcake game. It's we got to go out there. We got to take care of business. If you mess around, keep a team in the game, you can get in trouble. So let's go take care of business. Let's stay healthy. Let's have a great time tailgating. Looking forward to that.
Yes. The book club will be open.
The weather looks good. Brendan will be there. Chad will be there.
No, Chad won't be there.
May not be there. Brendan will be there, though.
I will be. I'll be a little later than normal. I won't be there for 5 hours. I got my daughter's soccer game that gets done around 1-ish. So then I will be all blacked out. Like Chad says, blackout. Where are you black? So
that's right.
All my black. I got an old school SDSU knockoff black windbreaker that my wife found at a thrift store in Devil's Lake, North Dakota.
Good deal.
That is just mint. It is so cool. So I will be wearing that. And beef bowl. I think I'm gonna make some beef short ribs here. Throw them on the old Chimpsky and throw down.
So
50 butter. Someone's making fun of my typo probably.
So we did pick SDSU. We picked Dixie State against the spread 45. However, I fully expect SDSU to put up a 50 butter burger against Dixie State. Thank you, Dallas, for reminding me.
I want my Scoopy tokens, Culvers.
Brendan, so in our text, we were talking about 50 burgers. He accidentally texted 50 butter. And so we were talking about Culver's 50 butter burgers, which that's the last time we're mentioning Culver's because they're going to start paying us for that.
That's right. They already owe me at least 100 Scoopies tokens for saying their name twice.
Right. Oh, shoot. All right. With that, I think that's all we got for the night. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. As always, go big, go blue.
Go Jacks.